Hello everybody, my name is David. Thank you for tuning in today. I wanted to make a video about post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm a life coach and I help people heal from trauma, traumatic events, emotional traumatic relationships, work-related trauma, things like this. I kind of want to just get into a little bit of what this is because it's the most important element from healing from this is to understand it and know what it is. It's not a physical ailment where you go to a doctor just tells you do this or take this every day and that's it, and you don't really need to know what's going on in there. No, we need to know what's going on. We need to understand trauma and traumatic events to heal from it. So I'm just going to go real quick on just what PTSD is and the different forms of it are. There's been a study between 1999 and 2010 with war veterans here in America, the United States. And when they found out there was one veteran committing suicide every 65 minutes. Horrible, horrible. There's 5 types of PTSD. First is normal stress response. Normal stress response is when healthy adults experience a single discrete traumatic event. The second is acute stress disorder, characterized by panic reactions, mental confusion, dissociation, severe insomnia, suspiciousness, unable to manage your basic self-care and relationships. Third one is uncomplicated PTSD, persistent re-experiencing of the traumatic event, avoidance of triggers, symptoms of arousal, which is alert, awake, attentive. I see this a lot in work-related trauma, whether it's war, police officers on duty. Fourth is comorbid post-traumatic stress disorder. And this would be comorbid with other psychiatric disorders, very commonly associated with personality disorders. Many people with different, there's 10 different personality disorders, and a lot of people with those might have comorbid form of PTSD. And the last one is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as the disorder of the extreme stress. Exposure to prolonged traumatic circumstances, especially during childhood. I had what I believe is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I believe I suffered for over 30 years of trauma beginning in childhood. And when these terms first came about, the c-ptsd, it was deemed maybe incurable, having it for life. If untreated, you can definitely have these things for life, and they can even get worse. Don't mean to scare you, but it's treatable. That's my point. PTSD can develop after a very stressful, frightening, or distressing event, or after a prolonged traumatic experience. Types of events that can lead to PTSD and forms of PTSD are serious accidents, injuries, physical, sexual assault, work-related traumatic exposure, emotional trauma in relationships, like we talked about in childhood. Signs of PTSD can range from flashbacks to nightmares, panic attacks to eating disorders, cognitive delays to lowered verbal memory capacity. This is an umbrella term for many, many other disorders and problems. Many trauma survivors also encounter substance abuse issues as they attempt to self-medicate the negative effects of PTSD. Symptoms can take 3 months to even years to show, and like I said before, if untreated, can last a lifetime. This disorder is treatable. Most common feelings or emotions associated with PTSD are helplessness and hopelessness, and it will render the victim helpless, and feeling helpless to where they do not get the help that they need. This is so commonly forces people to isolate incredibly. Women and men both, well, everybody experiences trauma differently, and that's really important to remember and know throughout all this. And women and men experience trauma differently. We react to it differently. A woman typically might, blow up emotionally, explode, drop to the floor, cry their brains out, and then eventually pick themselves up and be okay. That's kind of healthy. Whereas men typically will withdraw from their families, isolate themselves and maybe keep that all secret for the rest of their life. And secrets are shameful. Secrets keep us alone. When we have secrets we hold, we gotta feel really alone. It forces us to isolate ourselves. This disorder is so treatable. And you have feelings of guilt and shame associated with this, and that can keep you from getting help and treatment. Typical treatment for this is simple support from people listening and talking, being there for you. Supplements, drugs, and cognitive awareness, really understanding what happened. The brain separates your life. You have a part of your brain that focuses and controls and manages your work life. You have another part of your brain that focuses and controls and manages your personal life. Your work and your personal. It's almost physical and emotional. And even though these parts are separate, they need to work well together like an engine. And when one part fails, it'll seep into the other parts of your life. And if you have post-stress from trauma, and it goes unhealed, that could be in your personal life and will leak into your emotional life or into your work life once your emotional life starts to fail. Once it becomes unmanageable, it'll leak into other parts of your life. Really bad. So all of you, get the help that you need. It's vitally important that you take care of this thing. Very. And, you know, a lot of times, a lot of people think there's no help for us. I went years thinking I was the only one like this. I didn't even know what this was a thing. And once I got, you know, I did everything I could before I understood this, before I knew this. I did everything I could, from, you know, working out extreme and eating extremely healthy and working really hard and not dating anymore and just doing everything I'm supposed to do. And it just wasn't near enough at all. Nothing. It was almost nothing. Once I understood this information, started to heal, and I healed myself. Over 30 years of trauma, that ended 10 years ago almost for me, and I feel wonderful today, and I can process my emotions, I can give myself what I need and function healthy and properly. It's great. It's great. So there's hope for all of you out there that might be suffering from this, okay? Thank you guys. Love yourself first. I'll see you again later.